Spirit. And, some people may not read that verse like I do, but what I think each of you can get from that is that the idea is we should take care of our bodies. It may be a challenge for some of us, me included, absolutely. And what I've had to do over the years is really think about what I put into my body and what my body does with it as a relationship. So, if I put junk in, I'm going to get junk out, right? Same thing with any relationship with your husband, your friends, you get what you give, really. Um, and so that's really been critical in really understanding that relationship with my body and what I'm doing to it. So, what I found, even through Desiree, is that when I eat more of the right foods, I don't have those symptoms of the gastroesophageal reflux disease. My asthma isn't as bad. My energy is up there. It's crazy awesome. So, just to share a little bit about me and where I came from, um, a lot of people, when they come to these calls, they're like, oh, all these people are super skinny. They came into this and they were skinny. Well, that's not the case. Some of us, sure, we were skinny. Some of us were what Desiree calls skinny fat. You know, I, on the other hand, morbidly obese. I started my journey back when I very first started with Beachbody in 2015, I think, at 295 pounds. I was introduced to Beachbody the same way back in 2015 as I found Desiree. I was in a mom group on Facebook. This chick was like, hey, I'm having this group. I joined immediately. I bought 21 Day Fix. And when I did that, I didn't do Shakeology. I was like, forget this, dude. I'm not doing another shake. I've already tried every diet in the book. The shakes don't work. Forget it, right? My problem is exercise. Well, that wasn't really the case. I did the containers about halfway. I didn't really push my all in my workouts because I allowed an excuse, and that excuse is you have asthma, you can't get out of breath. Don't try those jumping jacks. You're going to not be able to breathe. And so I allowed that little devil in the back of my head to really limit my ability to do what I needed to do. Fast forward a few years, in 2019, I moved from Florida to Greenville. It was a little over a year before I met Desiree, but in that time, I came up here. I had backslidden on my fitness and my eating. I was tipping the scale at 314 pounds. Like, I had lost 60 pounds doing 21 Day Fix, and I gained all that back and then some because I got lazy and I let life get in the way. I fully own that, right? So when I moved up here, I didn't know anybody at all. I work from home. I have two teenagers. And my excuse at that point was, I don't have time. What? That's so stupid, right? And so I started with just walking up and down the stairs. We live on the second floor of an apartment complex. So if all I could do that day was walk down them steps one time and up them steps one time, hey, I'll take it, right? And then it got to where I could walk around the parking lot. And then I could walk around, the entire apartment complex. And then this spring, right before I met Desiree, my neighbor says, hey, on your lunch break, do you want to go for a walk? Yeah, sure, whatever. We walked the entire 1 mile loop around our circle. On our side of the main road, that circle has two huge hills. And if Mandy's on the call, she can tell you. Mandy is also from Simpsonville. These hills are terrible, especially for asthmatics, right? I didn't care. I was doing it. So I started doing that every day. And then I met Desiree. And just like she said, we just kind of, I out of the blue, hey, can you tell me more? And then we got to talking, and we really took a completely different perspective this time. We looked at my goals, we looked at what my abilities were, what I really wanted to be able to do, where I needed to go, and things like that. What were my eating habits? What were my exercise habits? All of those things that many of us just take for granted. And what that did was it really kind of turned a light bulb on. I know the things that I should be doing. I don't always practice those, right? And so I really, took a few days to think about this 2B mindset thing. And I did some research. And then, like she said, out of the blue, I just bought it. And then I was like, oh, forget that. I'm jumping all in, because I'm very big on the mindset of go big or go home, right? If you're going to do something, do it all the way. Because if you're only halfway committed, like I was at first, you're going to fail, and you're going to fail fast. Okay. So really, my whole thing with you guys is, if you're new to the idea of Beachbody and you don't really understand what it's all about, don't be afraid to reach out to that person that asked you to come to this call. Talk to them about your goals, talk to them about what you're afraid of, and, just trust the process. Make sure that you are 110% committed, because every day that you press play, or every day that you drink an extra glass of water, is a day that you did something good for you. So the challenge today is going to be, get with that person that brought you, talk to them, do whatever it takes. You can't allow that excuse of, I don't have time, or I can't afford it. I have a question for you. Can you really afford to put a price tag on your health? That's what I had to think about, because I have 2 kids. I have to really think about my children and my future. And I know that I can't continue doing the things that I was doing prior to coming back to Beachbody if I want to be here in 20 years, you know. So back to you, Des.
You're so, excuse me, you're so sweet. I just love you. So, what do you think was the difference in the first time and this time? Like, I know you said you had probably a different
I did have a
mindset.
person. She was very financially motivated by, hey, I'm going to make a few bucks off of this person. But Desiree was motivated in, I'm going to change somebody's life. Desiree really thought about what I needed as a person rather than what she needed for her wallet, which was polar opposite of the other person.
What do you think though about inside of you that was different this time rather than last time?
Um, I really think that I had experienced so much loss. Um, that my mom died of cancer when I was 9.
Mm.
And then after I had kind of slidden off of Beachbody, my sister had a massive stroke. She did not pass away, thank God. And, I work for a medical company, and I see people come in all the time to the doctor's offices that have issues, and they're issues that can be prevented. Our orthopedic surgeons will see people who have just, not been active enough. And that's why they have to have these knee replacements and hip replacements. And just really thinking about, my health and what I need to do for me. My mindset had a shift where before, I'd say this spring, I was very much thinking about, what can I do for you? Now, what can I do for you? And now I have flipped that around. And the first thought is, what can I do for me so that I will be here tomorrow to do something for you?
That is a huge, I think that's a key right there, what you just said. That's a huge thing that most people don't do ever, even when we start this. Just as women in general, we do not put ourselves first. And there's nothing
I think
wrong
we're
with
wired
that.
to
Do
help others. I think that we're wired, from birth to help other people.
Oh
And
yeah.
in doing that, we forget about us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's nothing I've talked to several ladies, who find that hard to do too. And I think we all sitting here probably found it hard when we first started because we think, we're taking time away from our husband or our kids or whatever. But even just that 30 minutes of your workout, that just makes you a better person. It makes you a better mom, a better wife. It just makes you better in all areas. So it's so important that you take care of yourself. Plus, this is how I think anyways, and I know Stacy does, that if we're being that example to our children, I don't want Paige to grow up and think that she can't take care of herself and that it's wrong to take care of herself, right? Like we want our kids to grow up and take care of themselves. And I love too that Dawn has two older teenage daughters, and they saw right when from day one when she started in June, they saw what she was doing and they jumped in and they wanted to plan out their own workout for themselves to do. Like immediately, I just got goosebumps. Like immediately they were like, I want to do what my mom is doing because they saw her changing. So I think that's so awesome.
There's that, and then there's this afternoon. I don't know how many of you guys saw that question I had for Desiree. There was a picture of Shanti, and my oldest, she's 17. She's like, "Oh my gosh, does this mean what I think it means, Mom? Is he releasing another program?" She loves Shanti. So, I mean, I love that they love it. I love that, one of the first recipes that I ever tried with To Be Mindset was her cauliflower fried rice.
Yeah.
I had never tried it. Mandy kept telling me, "Girl, you need to try cauliflower rice." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know about that." Love cauliflower fried rice. Oh my gosh. It's the best. Same thing with zucchini noodles. I was just like, I don't know about that. Oh, we love it. We absolutely love it. So that's one of the things that really keeps me going is, I get a thrill out of finding ways that I can create things that we love that are not necessarily good for us in a healthier way.
Yeah.
So like the other morning, my kids were like, "Hey, Mom, I want some brownie batter." Sure, you can have Shakeology brownie batter all you want, right? And so they've kind of made that transition as well.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's so fun, especially when you're getting your family involved, that I think we're programmed, obviously, with commercials and fast food and things like that, the junk food and stuff is the way to go. So when we look at cauliflower rice or zucchini noodles, we're like, oh my gosh, that's disgusting when we've never even tried it. And all these recipes that we have, they're just taking the food, the healthier food, and making it to taste like, what you might be used to. It's just healthier. It's,
Yep.
it's, I love that you're doing that, especially when you're doing it with your girls too.
Yeah, I mean, they're old enough that they have to really think about those things at this point. At 14 and 17, they really have to think about that.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Thank you so much. I want to ask again another question real quick. So, some people when they start sharing is a big hold up. They don't. Maybe you're embarrassed to share, or whatever the case may be. What was your outlook on that? Because you just were like you wanted to share with the world.
In 2015, I was very much that other person. I was so afraid of sharing. I didn't want my picture out there, didn't want my measurements or anything like that out there. I was so afraid. And I think that what I was afraid of wasn't so much sharing that information, it was that I was going to fail and I was still going to be, that person. And then in I think I want to say it was August of 2017, I was asked, put on the spot at work to teach a team building exercise to our entire HQ. And this was before we were acquired by corporate America. And, I had only been working on the HQ side of things for a few months at that point, not even a year. And so I was like, okay, it's time to do it afraid. And after that point, I was like, you know what? I am improving me. I am loving on me. Other people need to know this and they need to see this, because if they see what I'm doing, then, maybe that helps someone. And it really transitioned from, I'm going to help you with this task, to I'm going to help you save your life, is really where that came from. Any other
Love that.
questions?
That's awesome. That's so important too, because I think that's one reason that when I started, I started in a challenge group, just like every one of us on here. And I just became a coach at first, just because I knew it would hold me accountable. Like that was just an extra piece that would make me show up every single day. So I made, just like we make ourselves post in the challenge group, I would make myself post on my page. And it's not about me. Some people say, look at you coaches, all you do is take selfies, which is true, but it's not about, hey, look at me. It's about maybe something I'm posting is going to help somebody else and change their life today. So, and you're totally doing that every single day. So thank you so much for sharing from your heart, and, just encouraging everyone else to show up for them first, and then show up also like you're doing for your family. Does anybody else have anything?
No, I love that. I love the byproduct part. It's like you really are that byproduct. I went live this morning in our group. I usually go live a bunch of times, but on my walk, and I was like, we're a byproduct. Like, I think it's amazing. I look at my daughter, who is 5, and for snacks, she grabs tzatziki, hummus, and cauliflower potato chips. And that's hilarious to me. Like, I die laughing, because my go-to would have been the drawer with all the snack sized Cheetos and Doritos, and I would have taken multiple. Then I would have gone to grab a Coke and double plastic cupped it, and eaten like 5 or 6 Polly-O string cheeses, like, and a can of ravioli, a beef ravioli, because it was so good. Like, but I learned that. I watched that behavior, and even smoking back in the day. Like, my dad never offered me a cigarette. I thought he was cool. And isn't it funny how a lot of times you think the coach who brought you in here is so cool, that's why you said yes to them? There was something in there that you were like, dude, she's effing awesome, or whatever it is, right? It's like you I can see why I smoked, because I thought my dad was awesome, right? So I just did it for so long. So I love that you are like, you're becoming a byproduct for others, but you're the product for yourself. And I just think that's really inspiring. It's also interesting too, and I said this too, I don't know if you can relate to this, Dawn, or not, but I was talking about, like, there's a lot of people that have cancer, right? A lot of people have cancer, and I feel like it's all around, and it freaks me out a little bit, because I'm like, God, you never know, right? But cancer patients, there's so much to learn, and so much amazing opportunity for all of us to learn about a cancer patient, because if you think about it, they get diagnosed that they have cancer and they have to start a treatment. They have to get sick before they get better. They have to get very sick before they get very better. And I can see the parallel in it when we walk a wellness journey. Like, we know we have to say yes, but we have to go through these trenches, and we have to kind of, in a way, get sick before we get better. We have to learn our mind tricks and what we say and what we do, and the plot twists and the excuses. And it's kind of like these treatments that we're going. And I feel like the accountability group is my treatment plan that I come into, and I get my treatment, if that makes sense. I don't know if you can relate to that or not, or like, does that make sense? But I was like, wow,
I mean, and you said you feel like cancer is everywhere.
Yeah.
my best friend has beat breast cancer twice in the last 2 years. One of
Oh,
my coworkers just beat cancer and then lost her dog to a form of
oh
canine
God.
cancer. I mean,
Wow.
it's everywhere. It
Yeah.
legitimately is everywhere. And you're so right. You know, the doctors have to administer poison in order to kill what is killing you, you
Right.
know? So, I mean, it absolutely. And, you know, in order for us to feel better, you know, we have to put our bodies through so much. And in my case, you know, I have to basically
Yes.
not be able to breathe, you know, for a little while. But then after it, I have my recover and I'm like, hey, I'm good, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So,
And our minds have to go through it too. Our minds go through a battlefield. You
oh,
know,
yeah.
it's your doubt. I mean, like, it's kind of interesting because when you go on a wellness journey, I feel like like once you say yes, everything goes, oh, well, Dawn said yes. Now we're going to bring back everything that Dawn's ever had to deal with because she said she wants to heal. And then that's when I think people quit because it's too much. It's overload sensory and they can't put it in compartments and do small goals at a time. That it's just like it it it's like it's easier to run. It's hard.
Desiree, I have that book on my shelf right over here.
Yeah,
Um,
as
you
soon as
know,
Stacey said that, I was like, that's a good book because that's so true for so many areas, especially your wellness. There's so many of us probably even on here
Hmm.
that if we didn't change our mindset, we would have quit a long time ago. I know
Oh
I would.
God, yeah.
So I mean, I have to read personal development or listen to it or something because the world is so crazy anyways. It's something's going to bring us down and you're going to get a message that says, why are you
Yeah.
doing that? You're not doing any good. Or, there's always going to be haters. There's always going to be hard times and you're going to want to quit. So you've got to change your mindset. It's the only way.
And we need the negative for your positive. Again, like it's so funny. Our car battery died a couple weeks back, and I had to jumpstart Gretchen, who was in our challenge group at my hair studio. And I'm like, "Oh, isn't that funny?" And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "You need a positive and a negative to charge the car to run." And she goes, "Are you going to relate this to wellness again, Stacey? Because you're so stupid." And I was like, "Yes, I am." And I was like, "Don't you know that?" And it was like, you can find it if you look for it. Like I found it in a car battery. Like I was like, oh shit, you do need the negative for a positive.
yep, yep,
You do to charge, to run. You need. So let's, the moral, don't run from your negatives because they're not negative. They're not bad. They're actually your greatest tool. And if you get it multiple times, that just means the universe really wants you to learn this thing super hard. So it's not punishment either. It's just triple, quadruple, and a bazillion times of reinforcement. Sometimes it's like years worth, but whatever, it's just that important. It's how I feel.
yep,
Dawn,
absolutely.
you're very inspiring to me. Thank you for talking and sharing. And I think what I love too is you sound, I don't know the Dawn before, but the Dawn that is here is very confident. She's very like spoken with truth. You sound like you have a very firm foundation that you walk upon. And you also sound like you're not going to take no prisoners this time. Like you're in it to win it. And that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. My before I was absolutely not Desiree. I'm not going to do this. Right. And now I'm like, I ain't got a shit to give. No more F's left. You know, my
Yeah.
dividends busted. All that. You know,
Yeah.
because I see what it does for me, and I want that for everybody else. You
Oh,
know.
you shattered your glass ceiling that you were living under. You shattered your glass ceiling and you went past your quit zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you do that,
Even with getting
yeah.
injured this summer, oh my gosh, you guys would laugh. One of the kids had tossed clean laundry on top of my dumbbells and I didn't see them. I went
Oh,
flying across the apartment, caught myself, but I injured my knee and had to take a few weeks off because it was bad.
Oh.
But even doing that, I kept up with the two bunnies.
Yeah.
you know, with To Be Mindset. You know what that is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have not given up, you know. I come
Amen.
back just as quick as I can when I injure myself. And that's
Mhm.
really key.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
sometimes your body's telling you got to have a break, girl.
Yeah. And you have to rest to run. You know, that's the other big thing too. You have to rest to run. I love this call a lot. Desiree, thank you for asking Dawn to guest speak. Incredible. I think you have a lot more to come in your future. I think this is just tipping the iceberg for you, Miss Thing. So keep listening to the universe and keep leaning in, because there's a lot of magic and fire for sure in you. So celebrate you for
Thank you
sure.
for having me.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for saying yes.
All right, ladies, we will see you. So we do this, just a reminder, we do this the first Thursday and the third Thursday of every single month. And we started asking our, our challengers to talk, because we need to share our story, and we're all so different. Like, me and Stacy can talk all the time. So it's so good to hear other people's perspective and where they came from and what they're doing. And it just, like Stacy said, it inspires us. And you're going to inspire somebody else. And we just want that ripple effect to keep going. So I love, a great thing to do, like Dawn did, is she invited some of her friends to listen to this, because just like we want to post, this is the same exact thing, that we want to share this so that others will hear it, because it might inspire somebody else to start. And starting truly is the hardest part. Once you start, I feel like, then you're like on the roller coaster and you're going downhill. It's just the start. So thank you, ladies, for jumping on. Have a fabulous Thursday night, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.